Hey everybody, it's me, Garrett Everett from Garrett Everett Blackwater. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about aquascaping tools, both the professional style, stainless steel, and also just what you can make do with around the house if you can't afford that or don't feel like spending your hard-earned cash on that. So let's take a look. Alright, so let's start with the professional tools. We'll go right to left. So this is a sand flattener. This is kind of a neat tool. You don't use it much, but when you're first setting up your tank, it'll prove invaluable. Even if you've got a lot of substrate going on that shifts around, it's really nice for moving that around. You got a wide side, you got a narrow side, depending on how tight the space is you need to get into. They're also nice for knocking snails off the glass. I wouldn't necessarily use them for algae scraping, but that's entirely your call. These are not ADA tools, I should add, or anything professional grade. These are, they were like 25 or 30 bucks on Amazon. I find them to be, they're still high quality tools. They've worked great for me thus far. I don't anticipate them wearing. They're stainless steel, so they don't rust. Still keep them, dry them off when you're done. But overall, I'd say I'm very happy with these. Two kinds of scissors. The first is a straight blade. It's got really long handles. All these tools have really long handles, which is nice for working inside your aquarium. Just because you only have to get your wrist wet, if you're worried about that, I don't mind getting in there up to my elbows, but it is nice if you just want to do a little bit of trimming here, a little bit of moving stuff there, a little bit of planting. It's nice to just kind of be able to stick it in there and then wipe your hands off kind of thing. There's also these fancy curved scissors. Those are really nice for getting into tight spaces or behind things where you need to trim. If you keep Dutch style tanks or any sort of carpeting plant, they're really nice. They curve down so you don't have to lay your scissors flat. You can just kind of come in at a 45-degree snip them or give your hedge a really nice nice curved look. Tweezers. Alright, that doesn't look good. That's fine. So once again, we got the bent ones, good for getting in there, good for planting in hard to reach places or getting behind a rock and picking up a snail if you don't like snails in your tank. These are strong enough grip to be moving small rocks around and all that, which is pretty cool, and they've got delicate enough control that you can pick small snails off the glass if you want to save them, which I did with some ram's horn babies, and they're delicate enough to pick up even small snails. If you're cautious enough without crushing them, which is kind of cool. The straight blade as well, more straightforward, really good for planting. You grab the plant by the root structure, push it into the substrate, let it open up on its own, give it a little shimmy as you're pulling it out, the substrate falls right in, and the tank is planted. Neat as can be. Super fast way to plant stuff. Works really well. Dip net. This isn't just for catching fish. Once you're done your trimming, scoop it off the top. If you've got duckweed, too much duckweed, scoop it off the top. Really good for getting all that crap off of the surface. So once again, pretty invaluable, especially if you do a lot of trimming or a lot of scaping like that. Amateur tools, stuff that I've used. We'll start again, right to left. This is just a spatula. Also great for substrate. Same thing as a sand flattener, right? So you got two sides, you can do different shapes. It's almost, a lot of this stuff is kind of like, I don't know if you've ever worked with clay, but clay is a lot of this like DIY wire and metal weird shapes, grab a fork kind of thing. So really, if you have a need in your aquarium, you can probably figure out a tool that'll do it. Paintbrush, very good for sand flattening in small areas. If you use like a large style home paintbrush, 2.5 inch kind of thing, standard paintbrush. Also good for sand flattening. Just make sure you haven't actually used it for painting or staining or anything, because those chemicals can get into your tank and be bad for your fish. It's not good. If you don't have long-handled scissors, just regular household scissors. That's super easy. It's nice to get ones with a long blade. Kind of the same thing with the long handle, right? But a long blade allows you to, you can follow whatever your stem down to the bottom and get at it really targeted. Shorter scissors are just kind of more awkward to use around there, so I recommend using stuff with a long blade, long handle. Chopsticks. I don't know how your chopstick foo is, but mine's pretty bad, but if you're good with it, you can use them just like tweezers. They're also good if you've just got one and you need to go take some bubbles out of your substrate or stir it up a little bit or whatever, just jab it in there and spin it around. Metal kind is best. These are bamboo. They also work. They're varnished or whatever, so they're pretty protected. More tweezers. This is a kind of neat model. I think this is actually for scrapbooking, but it's spring-loaded and it closes automatically. So you could actually use this for pinching off plant stems and that kind of thing. It's better to use scissors for the plant's health, but it's kind of neat like that. And also good for holding on to whatever you need with your aquascaping material, so sticks, rocks, that kind of thing. These are also tweezers. These are medical kinds. I think not this one, but I believe they're doctor tools. These are kind of neat because they've got a little teeth in there and they'll lock on, so depending on what tension you need, or just to keep them closed, that's nice. This is kind of like, that scene in Saving Private Ryan where they pinch off an artery. This is the tool they use for that. This one's actually from, I believe, World War II. My wife's grandfather was a doctor in the war, and so that came kind of out of his personal stash. I don't know how he'd feel about me using it in an aquarium, but there you go. Bristle brushes. These are useful. This is a straw cleaner. This is a baby bottle cleaner. We just had a baby, so we got a couple of these kicking around. And they're useful for cleaning out intakes, tubes, that kind of thing. This one's flexible, so if you got to go around a corner, it's really nice. It's good for those AquaClear U-bend pipes and that kind of thing. Just make sure that you don't have soap on there, or if you've got soap on it, you give it a really good rinse, because you don't want soap in your tank. That's not going to help you if you're cleaning your tank with soap. That's just going to be bad for everything. These are also kind of neat. This is a nasal aspirator. You can get this at the drugstore for a couple of bucks. And it's great for getting in there and blowing things around. So if you've got a leaf that's got detritus on it or whatever, you just kind of suck up some water, give it a little poof, blow it right off. Pretty neat, pretty simple tool. This is kind of an oddball thing to have in your collection, but it's nice to have when you have it. You can also use it to suck up small organisms. So if you've got baby shrimp that you're trying to locate, they're generally pretty sneaky, but you can kind of suck them in, spit them out. I don't know if you keep scuds or anything like that. That might be useful for that too. Similar vein, this was actually a bottle for feeding kittens. It comes with several different mouthpieces and stuff. You just punch a hole in the tip. So kind of the same idea. You just kind of use it to spray water. It's a bit more controlled when it comes out of that. So you might have that lying around if you've got pets, cats or a dog or puppies or whatever. So that's kind of cool. And last but not least, this is microfiber cloth. I like microfiber. It's nice and soft, but it's got a good kind of abrasive surface, so it won't scratch your glass, but it's good for scrubbing the algae. I like light colors. I've also got a light blue and light pink stuff. Be careful with the soap, once again, whatever you wash it with in your laundry. You don't want that in your fish tank, but even if you rinse them out, just make sure there's no detritus, no sand on it, because that'll scratch up your glass. But the nice thing about the light coloration is that when you put it behind the glass, you can see any algae that's on the glass. So anything that's even like a film that you might not be able to see just looking into your tank, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got a whole bunch of brown spot algae developing or whatever. So you just give it a scrub and you can see when it's gone. Yeah, it's really nice to have a light color so you can see what's all going on. So these are all the tools that I use. I hope that was helpful. Maybe you saw a new tool that you just haven't really thought about needing, or maybe you got inspired to create your own tools. So what's something else that's weird that you use at home in your fish tank? Post it in the comments below. I'd love to learn a few things from you too. Thanks for watching.